This is the MTPredictor Weekly Market Update for December 14th. So a pretty big week ahead. We've got an options expiration. It's actually a quadruple options expiration, quadruple witching, and we have a Fed meeting this week. And so you can probably have noticed if you've been trading that the volatility has picked up in the market. Here we're looking at the S&P. Now this is the last time we'll look at the December contract. On Monday I'll be trading the March contracts on the E-minis. But when we left off, was anticipating a rally into Christmas. The only thing that might throw a wrench in that we talked about was if we get that pattern that I was looking for, that market structure high. And that is, if we look at the pattern here, well, we had a candle high here, followed by a higher high, followed by a lower high, that market structure high. These typically make all your swing highs and swing lows. So you can see back here where the DP was, that we had a high price, a higher high, a lower high. Once they took out that third candle low, that as we can see, that swing high was put in, and we get some follow through to the downside there. And so we have the same pattern here. Now we don't have divergence up here like we did here, back here, but once they take out this third candle here in the market structure, that low, chances are this is going to get some follow through. And that was the only thing I was thinking, that if that did trigger short, which it did here on the 9th, then this may get some follow through. And a few weeks ago we were looking at potentially a correction back to the 2000 level, not looking for a big move, but a correction back to the ES 2000, and you can see that's pretty much accomplished there on Friday as they reached that 2000 level, closed at 1997.25. So we'll see. It's going to be a volatile week, Fed meeting, and with quadruple options expiration, markets do like to rally about 70% of the time into options expiration. Not sure what the data is when it follows a Fed meeting, but we'll see if they can make the turn here. If this ends up being a low, maybe this week we kind of get a wick and a close, back inside this range here, maybe forming a market structure low. Instead of a high, higher high, lower high, we get a low, lower low, higher low, and then that maybe that swing low gets put in, and we maybe get some rally into the end of the year. We'll see. If you were looking through some of the news stories, it was interesting that ahead of this Fed meeting here, Paul Krugman, who's a very popular economist, whether you agree with him or not, was talking about the Fed not being able to actually raise interest rates next year, as they've been talking that they're going to do. And I tend to agree with that. I think they're going to talk about raising rates. I think even if they actually do raise rates, I think it's gonna, things will kind of start to unravel, and eventually I think they're going to end up starting to print money like they're doing in Europe now, or looking at doing in Europe. And it looks like Abe in Japan will get re-elected, and the Abenomics will kick in, and their plan to print QE, and so they're deflating over in Europe and in Japan, and they're trying to stimulate or create inflation. And you see we'll get to our US dollar here in just a second, but I have the feeling that eventually that they're going to end up doing the same thing here and launching another round of QE. But here's the decision point. This is off of this last swing high here. So again, this is not just this pattern here, but the fact that the pattern came in this level of resistance where we anticipate that the market may correct, right? So that's what we're looking at there. Let me see if we can look at, we got the dollar index already up here. This was the daily chart. Remember last week we were looking at maybe getting some corrective action in the dollar. It was due for some corrective action. We did get that. Again, I was not expecting a big pullback here a shallow pullback against, maybe similar to the pullback here, or maybe here. And we got a bit of that. Let's look at the weekly chart here, and you can see the reason we were anticipating a pullback is because we had gone, wave 3. Now we had strength on this STF where the oscillator is through the gray band. This back here, if I kind of move this back, once the oscillator reached the gray band at the top, that strength band at this point was indicating there was more upside ahead, or more strength to the upside. And you can see it went right through. That was the target of the trade here, the decision point buy, which was also a major monthly support. So again, in an area we anticipated that this dollar, which was selling off, would form a bottom and rally, and that's exactly what it's done. This pattern was our holy grail, the wave 1 followed by the wave 2. This is the excellent area where you want to be a buyer. That's where Elliott said, the best time to be a buyer is in that wave 2, heading into the big wave 3. All right, so having said that, we were looking for some corrective action. Now here's the actual wave 4 target area for a larger degree pullback on the weekly chart. I don't know that it's going to get back to 86. If it does, that would be a big relief, I think, on oil and on the metals. So we'll take a look at those. Let's just look. I just want to go to the monthly chart of the dollar here before I leave, because this is what is in progress now. So just the same pattern that played out on the daily chart, that holy grail, then on the weekly chart, which is now wave 3 up. On the monthly chart, that same pattern where we had an important low followed by the wave 1 rally, the ABC correction in wave 2, and here's the monthly typical wave 3. So we've taken out this little resistance level here. We've got strength coming in on the STF, so I think eventually, unless maybe the Fed intervention or something like that, where they start printing money again, I think the dollar, this is a monthly chart, it'll take months to play out, but there's the wave 3 target. I think that's where we're headed if there's no anything intervening. I think this is where the dollar is headed. The monthly will reach its typical wave 3 target there. All right, let's look at gold. Well, this is the monthly chart of gold, and you can see there's a nice little 5-wave pattern down here on the monthly chart, right into the minimum wave 5 target, at which point you anticipate you get a correction or move back to the wave 4 DP. That's this level here. All right, so if the dollar does do a deep correction into wave 4 on the monthly chart, then I think gold has a chance to reach this target. Let's go to the weekly chart here. Again, a 5-wave pattern on the weekly, 1, 2, a big wave 3 down, the ABC correction in wave 4 here, which gave our TS2 sell signal with the target of our minimum wave 5, which was right here. Obviously that reached that for 5 times the initial risk. After the 5 waves, now we anticipate again a correction back to this wave 4. Actually, that's, yeah, the wave 4. It's actually going to come in here on the weekly chart, a little above that level here. If I can get this on here, right here. All right, so you can see we've begun to rally. I think again the only way that I think this continues is if the dollar continues to pull back. All right, so a lot of this again is dependent on the dollar, and then on the daily chart, kind of working our way down. Again, another 5-wave pattern into the weekly support. All right, this probably has the best chance of reaching the wave 4 target here. On this, in fact, if you want to look at the risk-reward scenario to the wave 4 target here, just about 2 times the initial risk. Off of the first blue buyer's candle here, that would have been executable at 1172.60. So at this point, you probably have your stop to break even and see if it can finish out. But again, I think that there is some strength here on the STF to the upside, indicating there may be more upside ahead. But again, you can't look at this in a vacuum. You've got to look at it in context as to what the dollar is doing as well. And the same will be said for oil here, and I'll wrap it up with oil. Let's go back to I'll go to the monthly chart here first. So our target for oil, remember, was $60. That was the decision point here. In fact, I'll just remove this so we can see where that came from. So here's all that years of consolidation here. This is in the in oil. You know, after the big move up there, we had this pullback. So this was a nice significant swing low here. So we're going to take a decision point off of that level to give us a major support level for oil, and that was that $60 target, the top of that level. Right. So at this point, I wouldn't want to be a seller here in oil at this point. If we get a close below this level, and whatever that low is gets taken out, or if they close below that level, make a little wiggle and roll over again, then maybe looking at to be a seller for a continuation type trade. But at this point, I don't want to be a seller in this area. We'll see what unfolds. You know, how this month closes. Right now we've got a gray candle, which is neutral. See if this closes blue or red. Let's go down to the weekly chart here. Again, this kind of started with the TS4 sell signal to the first target there, which was 7 times the initial risk. You can see how it went through the target here. This didn't act as support, and that's why I said, well, next target below that in terms of decision points is going to be that $60 level and the monthly support. And you can see the strength on the STF, which came in back here. The oscillator was reaching the gray band, indicating here that there was more downside ahead. Alright, so at this point we'll see how we close this week. If we get a blue buyer's candle to close, then I think we might get a rally. Maybe the dollar continues to correct. Again, a lot will probably depend on this Fed meeting and the wording. You know, what the Fed says, if anything changes in the wording and all that good stuff. But maybe if this does hold as support, again, get a rally, kind of working its way maybe back to the bottom of this resistance where which used to be support there, and then we'll see if things roll over again. If the dollar pulls back into a wave 4 and then heads back up into wave 5, then I think these things roll over again and retest, you know, maybe retest the lows. Alright, so we'll leave it here. I will be no market update next week. I'm taking the next, well, starting Friday, I'll be traveling. Usually take the last couple of weeks of the year off, kind of recharge the batteries, get ready for the new year. So there'll be no market update next week, but enjoy the week. It should be a event-packed week with the Fed meeting, quadruple witching, and complete economic data releases all week. So enjoy it, and we'll see you back. Wish you a very good Christmas, happy holidays, and we'll see you back sometime around the new year anyway.